Hello and welcome to the Friday, December 6th, 2024 edition of the Contributor Comms team meeting. As usual, a reminder that we operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. We like to offer the opportunity here at the beginning of the call for anyone on the call to introduce themselves. I will kick things off. I'm Caslin Fields, and I am one of the co-leads of this group. And this is the Contributor Comms subproject of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience in Open Source Kubernetes. The purpose of this group is to help folks within the contributor community understand what's going on in the community through communications, and also to help folks external to the contributor community understand the awesome work that contributors are doing to some extent, using also comms, things like blog posts, social media, and stuff like that. And we will talk more about how we do that work as we give our updates and discuss projects and things in this call. And Chris, would you like to go next? Normally we don't call on people, but
Sure. Hi, y'all. I'm the other co-lead of the comms sub-project. I have been in open source. I did the math the other day for 30 years now, and I'm very scared about that. Mario, would you like to go
Thank
next?
you.
Yes. Hi, I'm Mario. Pronouns he, him. I do stuff for comms, usually like technical topics, and I'm also part of SIG Infra and doing stuff for ContribEx. And I work for Kubernetes. And I think I checked every checkbox. Yeah. Whoever
There are so
wants to
many
go
more
next.
roles that we could talk about you holding in the community, but
Indeed.
you've checked enough checkboxes. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? This is totally optional.
I
Hi
can go.
everyone.
Sorry,
Oh,
go.
okay, sorry.
No, you're first.
Okay. So I'm Koti. I'm working as a DevOps engineer. Like this is my first time here in this meeting. I just wanted to contribute in this work group or entire community. I'm very active in a lot of PyCon communities globally, and I just wanted to be there, contribute as well. So that's thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions at any time, feel free to let us know. And would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional.
I can go now. So I'm Fred. I've been working here in ContribEx comms for a couple of years now. I mostly deal with the blogging side of things. I'm currently the Kubernetes 132 release lead, and I work at SAS Institute. And also close to 30 years so yeah, I can relate with the with the odd feeling.
So much weirdness.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to introduce themselves?
I could go next. Hi everyone. My name is Arvind. I've been around SIG ContribEx and doing work here for some time now. I worked under Caslin for the awesome Kubernetes Contributor Summit that happened recently. And I'm also the social media and blogging shadow and looking to contribute and help more. My pronouns are he/him. Thank you.
Showing us up, Arvind. I didn't mention my pronouns once again. Sure, she, her.
Yeah.
They are in the sheet.
It happens.
Anyone else like to introduce themselves? This is totally optional. All right, then. We will move along. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. I'll also mention that Frederico, you've got the release coming up next week. How you doing?
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of it's been reasonably peaceful, except that the last 2 days some bumps in the road, so we had to release blocking issues that were fixed, but we needed to act quickly
Never.
and have an RC2, an additional release cut. So today we are looking into the feedback from that release candidates, and hopefully there's no impact in the planned release dates for next week. If there is, obviously we'll communicate. But apart from that, I think things are looking good. Comms is ready with the release article. We have release notes that's running after the new release as we speak, and I'm confident that things will be ready for the planned date.
Fun fact for anyone who's not familiar, the release team does have their own comms team. So we help out with that as requested, but mostly the release comms team handles the comms for releases.
Mhm.
I do have one last housekeeping item, even though I interrupted myself on that one, which is, would anyone like to be our note taker today? The role of note taker in our meetings is to follow along with the discussion happening on the call and to take notes as best you can so that if someone missed the call and would prefer to catch up by checking out the notes, they can do so. Would anyone like to take on that role today?
I can do that, but I'm not sure if I can do it right.
That's a-okay. Give it a shot. We will be here to help you out. It's really more of a group effort generally.
Yeah, I'll open
But
it
it's
as
nice
well.
to have someone trying.
Yeah, sure. I will give it.
I might have to drop in the middle because of the release related stuff, so that's why it's better for
Imagine
someone
that.
to take lead there. Yeah.
Understandable. Thank you for doing that. So let me update the notes with that real quick. Danush, thank you very much. All right, let's hop into our agenda then. If you have any agenda items, Frederico, that you want to make sure that we cover, could you put them in here somewhere
Yep.
to make sure that we cover them?
Let me
I guess we should go over the blog. Did you post a regular blog update?
No.
on
No,
the
no.
Slack?
I wasn't able this week. No.
It's been a whole thing.
This
That's a-okay.
is a here we go.
Can relate to the not doing things you would normally do in open source for the last couple of weeks. Anyway, we'll hop into the agenda then. Make sure you add any
Yeah.
notes there that you want to cover. So
Where
for the first thing, messages of the week. This is something we introduced relatively recently into our agenda, which is to go over things that are happening in the community that we might want to post about on social media and want to highlight in the Last Week in Kubernetes Development newsletter, which is a sub-project of this sub-project. Chris, you had one thing.
Yeah, yesterday I took the time to upload whatever the thumbnail thing is, all the videos from the Contributor Summit. And yeah, there's the link in the notes, and off all those videos go. I don't know if there's anything else for LWKD we want.
It's a good question. Oh, there's this other thing that's happening next week that we might
Jesus,
want.
yes. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I've had like
How
2
dare
cups
you,
of
Chris?
coffee.
This was entirely on you to make sure that we talk about.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh dear Lord. And we have tweets to do, and yeah, no, I don't. Yeah.
I'm adding in an initial note on this one.
Thank you.
KubeCon India is happening next week.
Oh dear Lord, yes.
Did you want to add anything on that, Mario? Talk about Maintainer Summit stuff since you are more tied into that.
I honestly I don't have any clue about Maintainer Summit India.
Same.
However, the first deadline of that's not interesting for LWKD. The first deadline for the first deadline for call for paper for Maintainer Summit London closes on Monday.
Oh. Well,
And
down.
and on Tuesday, the deadline for maintainer tracks for KubeCon London closes.
Sorry.
This is fine.
Yeah, I cannot keep up with the pace of this stuff anymore. I don't feel like.
By the way, we have 5 KubeCons next year.
I know. That's also scary.
For maintainer track. All right. So for KubeCon India, we have KubeCon India, number 1. 2, Maintainer Summit London CFP closes Monday. And then Tuesday is the deadline for maintainer track.
For the Maintainer Summit, the first deadline is on Monday. But this is basically the date that you want to hand in if you want to apply for scholarship.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait, so it's not the CFP deadline, or it is also the CFP deadline?
There's 2 CFP deadlines.
There are 2 CFP deadlines. One CFP deadline is for people that want to apply for scholarship, so travel funding. And this is on Monday. And for everyone else, it's some day in January. But we haven't sent out any communications whatsoever about Maintainer Summit.
Yeah.
Let's go, team. It's been a whole thing after KubeCon North America, but we'll work on that. Note the link to in the notes points to contributors. Oh.
Nah, that happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the scholarship applicant CFP deadline is Monday, and then Tuesday is the maintainer track for London deadline.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Ooh, I know the CNCF folks are trying to collect the CFPs into like a more unified timeline, which has its pros and cons. It's great in some ways, but also kind of not in other ways. It will require comms.
All the things are due, yes.
Yeah. Another thing I want to add actually is I want to do more comms about the transition to Maintainer Summit. So many folks are confused about that.
Yes.
And we've gotten out basically no comms. It's just been an entire mess. So transition. Maintainers. Comms.
Should that be in messages of the week or new items?
I would move this to new items because basically the best thing would be to have
I would say it could be both. It would be nice to have it in last week in Kubernetes development. We should have it everywhere.
Would like to have the blog post that we can basically link to the blog post.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
All right. New items then.
Thank you.
And I do have a slide deck that I made for an internal Google thing that I will put in here about the transition from Kubernetes Contributor Summit to Maintainer Summit. I'm very proud of it. Mario reviewed it. We haven't used it anywhere for the community, really.
We used some slides for the maintainer for the Contributor Summit track.
Oh yeah. But that exists if you want an overview of what's going on with the transition from the Contributor Summit to the Maintainer Summit. I would like to think that it is a pretty good overview of it. And then, as Mario said, he's working on a blog. What do you think are the chances that you'll get the blog published before the end of the year? You think you'll get it next week?
Oh, okay.
At least writing it next week. So someone then needs to review it. And basically, I will probably No, I don't. I will not annoy Federico because Federico has other stuff to do.
Yes, annoy me if you need
Yeah.
to.
I will annoy. I will. I think the best way would be to ping some of the blog lead shadows, because they also probably can help me. So I don't have to ping Chris.
Just be aware that there with the release there are feature blogs and stuff like that. So the availability could be less than normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have KubeCon India.
Yeah. Just a few things going on next week, I feel like.
Okay, I can write it completely next week, and then someone can review it after next week.
Yeah, but I mean, after Wednesday, I'm pretty much done. Assuming there's no delay. So yeah.
Yeah, if you got it in on Monday or Tuesday, that would be before the release.
Got it in and had it reviewed and ready to push. Yeah.
No.
You know, just a couple of things in like 3 days.
You can do it. I'm joking.
If you want help drafting that, though, I could try and work on that a little bit this weekend or something. Also, apologies and thank you to Danush for letting me crash the note-taking party. I do that.
Nice.
I will start to say yes every time because you end up doing it anyway. So
I just can't resist, but I still appreciate folks hopping in and doing it.
Nice.
I should hold myself back a little bit more. Anyway, yes. So messages of the week, we have a couple. Are there any others? Are there any other KubeCon? I think there are some other KubeCon comms that are going to be coming up, but nothing that...
CFP is closed. Co-located event CFP is closed. The only thing that is missing is new dates, but there's nothing announced yet.
Yeah, for the new KubeCons.
The other KubeCons. Yeah.
We might want to keep an eye out for things. We'll see. This is probably good.
Nice.
So let's move on to new items. Chris, you have something there?
So while I was uploading the Contributor Summit videos yesterday, I actually sat down and watched one, which is incredibly rare for me, especially. But I was really, really wanting to get to the end of the video to see what would have happened if they actually got to finish their talk, and they ran out of time. And this was the talk on why is contributing to Kubernetes so hard, and it brings up a lot of points that I've tried to make many, many times over, and I'm glad it was at the Contributor Summit this time. But when I conveyed to the speakers in Slack yesterday, I was like, hey, this was a really good talk. Thank you for doing it, kind of thing. They asked, like, hey, we didn't get the time we needed to finish the talk. Is there a way we can do a blog or something? And I was like, of course there is. And, I'd be happy to help you through that process. And I gave them links to the blogging guidelines and all that fun stuff. So hopefully they will take us up on that. I think it was Shane mentioned they might join us next week to discuss. Shane was slammed today with meetings, so he's put it on his calendar for next week. So it was a really good talk. I highly recommend you watch it, especially, new contributors. Don't be afraid, right? Like, this is a problem you can help solve too.
Wonderful. I did watch that one in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was one other person who reached out to me at the Contributor Summit and wanted to do a blog, and they pinged us in Slack, and I have not been paying that much attention. But there's a few folks interested in doing blogs with us.
Yes.
Which may bleed over into January.
So you mentioned that, and I was looking at my calendar yesterday, and literally I have next week, and then the week after, and then I'm done for the year. So
That's more than I
yeah,
have. I'm out starting next Friday.
there you go. So yeah, like, and I don't even know if that's 100% accurate with my PTO time. I don't know. But yeah, there's not much a year left in 2024 is my point here. So yeah.
This KubeCon North America was particularly late for anyone
Mhm.
who is new to all of this. So that's one reason that it feels like there's a lot of stuff kind of crushed into the end of the year here.
Yeah. It's
And
definitely
also
in here.
the period of until Christmas is particularly short this year, or at least it appears like this, because it started
It really
already in
is.
like 1st of December thing.
I do think that US Thanksgiving was particularly late this year as well.
Yes.
I think someone was talking about that. Yeah. So excellent point. Thank you very much for reaching out to them about that, Chris. That was a lovely talk, and I would love to see more content on it.
Yeah.
So I would
No
love to see
problem.
that blog
I
happen.
Yes. I told them I'd happily shepherd it myself if need be. So it'll happen.
Appreciate that. Cool. So we'll try to keep that in mind. Check back in on that next week as well. Maybe not next week because I won't be here. At least sounds like maybe you'll still be around, Chris, so you could run the meetings
Yes.
maybe.
Yeah. Mario and I can do it, unless
Yeah.
Mario's not here.
I think I will be
I
headed to the
am
airport.
here, but basically the week after, then the week after next week I'm out.
Yep.
But I think that we potentially should talk about canceling all of the meetings after next week for this
I'm,
year.
yeah, I agree with
I'll
that.
like 2 of them.
Yeah, like
And potentially the first one in the new year, or no, the first one in the new year should work, right? Because
I think I'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
the third, it's the
Assuming that
third.
January 1st is not a Friday.
Third,
No,
it
January 1st is a
is a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I should be able to do the first one of the year then.
Am I? I didn't put my time off in my personal calendar. That was a mistake.
So I'm out until 6th of January.
23rd through the 3rd. Okay. Well, I won't be at that meeting, but please have it without me.
We'll cancel the last couple of the year. And we'll probably hold the first one of the new year. Hold the meeting. First Friday of 2025. All right, noted. Thank you. And then we already talked about the transition comms about maintainer summit. Anything else in new items? Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, there's a new item. I haven't added it yet to the board, so it might be useful to address it here. As I was doing a review of the SIG architecture series, I had a brief conversation with Ryan Kleinshans from Conformance, in which the idea of having a write-up of a specific thing that happened, which is the 100% compliance coverage in terms of Kubernetes, the one that we actually had emerge live in the Kubernetes contributor summit in KubeCon North America. So that's I think that warrants, and it's a good idea to write about. So I'm waiting for his position on it, but I think he is interested. So it's an idea for 2025, I think, at this point. But I'll start to write up the questions and open the issue. For now, it's a potential idea, and I think it's interesting because it's why it's important to have that sort of compliance. What were the problems? Why did it took this amount of time, etc. I think this is useful to explain a bit more about the relevance of it.
Agreed.
Sounds good to me. Thank you very much, Frederico, for thinking of that and for pursuing it.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Any other new items, or shall we move on to updates and big wins?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't think so.
I'm going to throw a big win on there, which is KubeCon North America and Kubernetes Contributor Summit North America are done. Except for the retro, I guess.
Yes.
We'll get that done. It'll be fine.
It's right. It'll be fine.
It's a win. Count it as a win.
It
Any other?
was the last contributor summit. So.
Oh, actually, I have an update / new item that I wanted to discuss that I mentioned before the call and then forgot about, which is we recently set up new Blue Sky accounts for the community. We have last week
yes.
Kubernetes development one, a Kubernetes IO one for the whole project with a public and user audience, and then Kubernetes.dev, which is our contributor facing channel. There's things we could discuss about those URLs, but Dims was doing something with Blue Sky stuff, and I have not been tuned in to know about it. So I was wondering if I could get an overview of what's happening.
Yes. So Dims has set up some kind of script to go through the contributor community, and if the person's in the GitHub org and they have their Blue Sky like URL on their GitHub profile, it will automatically get added to this Kubernetes CNCF contribution list on Blue Sky, which is cool. And Dems even has like a redirect in the case.io domain to do that. And yeah, I highly encourage everybody to go follow that list. And if you haven't added your Blue Sky to your GitHub and you're here, you might want to.
I saw that and was like, I want to do that. But it was while we didn't have internet and I was on my phone and I couldn't find a way to do it from the GitHub app. Apparently you have to do that from the desktop.
Yeah, the GitHub app is sadly very limiting on iOS, which is annoying.
Android too, apparently.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. That was a reminder that I needed. Any questions, comments about that, or any other updates and big wins?
So I got email from Thetica about migrating over, and I explained account sizes and all this other stuff, and it is like 100% off the table now based on cost. They quoted me $18.98 just to start. There's an upcharge for adding users every year. There's an upcharge for having an account over 200,000 users. Like it was just, my eyes started watering. I'm like, why is this so expensive? So yeah, I don't think we're going to migrate anytime soon, and it's very safe to go ahead and ask CNCF for 2 new or 3 new licenses, however many we need in buffer.
Yeah,
that is on my list to do.
+1 on this because and any other alternative is even more expensive.
Right. Yes. There's an enormous amount of cost.
So social media, what's it called? Multi-channel social media management platforms are ridiculously expensive for just calling APIs.
I think alongside this conversation, something we should talk about is, are there channels that we should remove?
I
To be
always think
honest,
about that, and
Mastodon.
And Mario's about to be honest about it.
Mhm.
Mastodon is like we surpassed the Mastodon follower amount
yeah,
on the Blue Sky contributor account. No, I mean on the Kubernetes AO main account on Blue Sky, it's like skyrocketed past it. But even on the contributor account on Blue Sky, we surpassed Mastodon in less than a week.
yeah.
And we have
So
300 followers on Mastodon, and maybe we just let it gracefully disappear.
well, that would be one way to add new accounts is to let Mastodon
Remove
fall
one.
off and then
I
add Blue Sky in. But
I think that, yeah, not disagreeing. I think that we should, and that was actually my only concern in that discussion and that PR on the CNCF side. We should do think on what we want to do and turn it into a policy, right? So
yeah,
we have X amount of accounts, and this is the criteria in which we selected, just to avoid any future issues with why. I mean, will you drop threads? Will we drop Blue Sky if all of a sudden threads surpasses Blue Sky? I'm just putting things out there.
yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt just to have like a small thing. I don't want to be a stickler for policy. It's just that it can lead in the future.
Mhm.
Now, Blue Sky looks very interesting to everyone, but in 6 months from now, imagine that there's another upheaval, someone takes over Blue Sky, and we are talking about something else. Maybe we need something a bit more structured. It could be around number of followers, could be around general market reach, could be around policies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can have a look into a policy and make a draft, but this will happen beginning of next year, not this year anymore.
Yeah. It's a
I
good.
do like
Go
the
ahead.
idea of writing a policy based on kind of this conversation. We have had conversations about writing a policy based on what was happening with X and like at what point do we abandon it. But the framing the conversation around like at what point do we abandon a platform is really difficult
Yes.
because there's so many different things that could happen. You can't possibly document them all. So we can't really make clear guidelines and process around like when do we abandon a platform beyond something simple like lack of engagement, which we can definitely document.
It's got to be a metric we can see and actually like
but
say no.
There are other cultural considerations that could factor into this, which we could just mention kind of vaguely as like it's something that we take into consideration, but we don't have any specific guidelines.
Right.
You're right. I mean, it's an idea, but ultimately, we can also go into the other approach, which is we don't need anything written in stone. It's the general consensus and feeling of the community at a certain point in time that determines the action, and a succession of those actions end up being the policy, right? So more of a praxis-based approach. Sure.
Excellent things to call out.
Yeah.
I like this idea. We will forget about it before we get to the new year. So I'll have to make sure that we check over the notes so that we remember to talk about this next time.
Ooh, yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Remember that everything we talk about in this meeting will be forgotten. Any other updates, big wins? I think with that, we can move into the board then. We only have like 15 minutes left. There is a comment real quick.
I mean, yeah.
Let me read this one aloud.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sundapan. Santapan was thinking that if we use a single Blue Sky account for Kubernetes, like all other CNCF projects, that helps keep all the things in one place. Today, I learned even the Minikube project has its own Twitter account. So the way that we are doing it currently in Kubernetes is that we have a public-facing account, and there's some history to this. We have a public-facing account and we have a contributor-facing account. And some history behind this is that on X, there was a Kubernetes Twitter account, X account, which has over 300,000 followers. It's enormous. And that was owned and operated by the CNCF. And we wanted a way to use social media to communicate with contributors. And we didn't own the Kubernetes account, and it had a different audience than what we wanted to address. So we created the contributor account on X. And then the CNCF, there was some contractor kerfluffle, and they stopped posting on the Kubernetes account for like a year. And eventually we got control over it. And so now we own both the external end user facing presence on social media and the contributor facing presence on social media. So we do both, and I think there are good reasons for that. It would be less to manage if we had fewer of them. Always worth continuing to keep in mind, but there's the context.
Yeah.
I would personally vote. I think it's good to have different channels, and there's even the discussion to at least trim up the news stream in Blue Sky a little bit further, because you can have RSS feeds, and you can basically then also have like security fixes and stuff like this in a separate feed that you can just connect to or like subscribe to. And people can so decide which level of information they want to get, because especially for KubeCons and events, we tend to post in a different frequency and with a different focus group to those accounts.
Kubernetes is big, and there are a lot of angles of things to consume that people might want to use. Chris?
So I do want to point out that the contributor counts are part of a larger kind of thought process based on experience
Strategy,
we had.
perhaps?
Yeah, there you go. Strategy. That was the word I was looking for. Because if we blast out, hey, y'all, the registry, or let's look at Docker shim removal as a perfect example of horrific things going wrong. Like the wording wasn't quite perfect for our initial messaging, and it caused a massive kerfluffle because it went out to the billions of users that followed that one big account, and created a lot of confusion, created a need for multiple blog posts and things like that. So stuff like the registry, it made total sense to talk about it like at least once on the main account, but then go into the nuts and bolts of it on the contributor accounts. And like mass hysteria is not something we should be good at here, I feel like.
Another example is contributor summit stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really make sense to talk about that much on the end user account because end users are not invited. So we need to have some other platform where we can say, contributors, here's what's happening with the contributor summit. This is happening now. Make sure you sign up for this, because we don't want end users actually participating in any of that or asking us questions about that. So we need a different channel to reach them. Always a good conversation to have. Thank you, Sandapan, for bringing it up. Any other questions or comments on this? Cool. We are always welcome to bring it up again. These things can always change, and we should always reevaluate them, especially because it costs us extra money to do it this way. Yeah. And I also like, by the way, Mario, the idea of a security feed. We've talked about that before. as a possible thing we would like to add to the number of channels that we own. By the way, one thing that I'm thinking of for next year is that I really want to focus in on social media. My additional role as social media lead for this team. We got some new shadows this year, and I have said for months, like, I'm going to write a document about how to become a social media shadow and stuff. And I haven't been able to do it. So that's my primary focus going into 2025 is going to be doing that.
Cool.
That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
So we do have like actual official CVE feeds that are JSON. I would be shocked if they're not RSS ones also available. Let me grab this link real quick. So there's the JSON version. Is there an RSS? No, of course not. That would just make sense. But going from JSON to RSS probably isn't terrible, I hope. Yeah.
Good to know.
You mean automatically or?
It would have to be some kind of containery, like scripting, changing.
No, I'm asking because on my blog, I create both the Atom and the RSS feeds.
Yeah.
Manually. So yeah, that would be the same process, going to the JSON and creating the Atom feed or the RSS2 feed.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you could grab that logic and toss it over here and it would probably work. Probably. More than likely.
All right. Lovely. We do have less than 10 minutes left. Should we do a quick skim of the board to see if there's anything important that we need to go over? So we do have
to drop in 1 minute, but for my side, I don't think there's much. Because there's the one thing that it's bothering me a bit, it's the SIG architecture enhancements blog, because it's been up for review for I think 1.5 months or 2 months, and I've been bumping the publication date every week. But I've talked with SIG Docs blog as well, so it's not. I think that it's a bit unlucky, because I guess that every time that there's a movement towards having a review, something happens and this gets further down the queue. So I will have to. And now with the release, I'm not expecting this to be the best time to actually have an additional pair of eyes in it, but I guess this is the one that I do have some comments on.
That makes sense. This is the way it goes sometimes. And thank you very much, Federico, for dealing with that ambiguity. Cool. Thank you for being on, Federico. It looks like there's a few things on the board that are merged or completed, so I'll move those over to done unless you want to. Aside from that, you can head on.
Thanks, Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend. Cheers.
See you. So I get to do my favorite part of the board in these last 8 minutes. Moving things to done.
Did we want to even talk about social media for KubeCon India before we do that? Sorry, I had it.
That's a good point, actually. We probably should.
So we tried to enlist folks to do the writing, and it's not done, right? Like, there's some stuff in here, but 2 of the 30 some possible tweets are written, so it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen given it's next week and there's only so many hours of daylight left.
I mean, it was a hard ask.
Yeah.
We got that cycle started way too late, like in the middle of North America, while we were still trying to get the North America stuff done, which we also didn't get basically any help for. And then we're asking for help for something that's brand new that nobody knows what it is. because we haven't sent out any comms about the transition to Maintainer Summit, and the one for India is particularly weird because it's the first one and it's a lot smaller, and nobody knows these things. So, like, it was an impossible ask to begin with. Let's qualify.
That works.
So it's not surprising that we haven't gotten a lot of input there. There's a lot more that we could have done to make it more accessible to more folks, and the timelines did not help. But it is still a problem that we don't have much written. So we have 5 minutes left. We're not going to get anything written on it
No.
right now.
Right.
But we could reshare that in the comms channel and be like, hey, folks, this is next week. Challenge, grab one thing in the next 2 days and write it.
I think the problem then becomes scheduling.
Yeah, the problem is always
Yeah.
scheduling.
I
So
can-
I think
I
it's
can
kind of just
schedule- Sorry.
on us at this point.
Right.
That's how it goes with these.
I can schedule things on Monday morning European time, which should be fine for most of the stuff. I mean, the Maintainer Summit will be on Tuesday, right? So if we schedule the thing, I mean, yeah, it's not things like badge pickup and stuff like this. So and Keslin, you and I basically also scheduled most of the posts the day before the contributor summit.
Right.
That's the way
So-
that it often goes with KubeCon when we don't get a
Yeah.
lot of folks helping out with it. And even when
So-
we do get a lot of folks helping out with it, sometimes that's how it happens with the scheduling, because like you wait till the last minute for folks to get things in.
Yeah, so basically my suggestion is we ping, as you said, we send out a reminder again, and I will schedule
Send
the
out a
post on Monday.
reminder about Maintainer
Where?
Summit or about writing comms for Maintainer Summit.
Writing comms.
Sure. And give them a
So-
deadline.
Yeah, it's basically
Yeah, like-
Monday morning, 9
need to be-
a.m. CET.
Yeah. And like it needs to be done, not getting started kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sandapan made a great point in chat, which I will read since it is very on topic. To be honest, 5 KubeCons in a year is a bit too much work from a volunteering standpoint. And I had the exact same thought the last time we discussed that there were 5 KubeCons next year. So yeah.
We need to spread out the volunteering among more volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Which has always been our problem.
Yeah. Also, at least from a contributor summit standpoint, this transition to maintainer summit is meant to make that lift a lot easier for the contributor community, but it honestly does very little for comms
Yeah.
as far as that, because the maintainer summit will now be largely run by the CNCF, but we still need to make sure that the contributor community knows what's going on with that. And we are now not going to be in all of those planning meetings, perhaps, or like doing a lot of that planning. But we still need to communicate with the community what's going on. So we still need to figure out what that looks like, and it's still going to need to happen for each of them. I don't know if Japan will have a maintainer summit. It probably will have like a smaller thing, kind of like India, I think we had been saying. Yes, you're absolutely right, Sandapan.
Yeah. No, it's it would be a lot. And we should in the new year seriously consider like the scope of our social media engagement for these things at the very least.
Also, the deadline we were talking about for writing maintainer summit comms was that 9 a.m. Monday IST.
No,
CET.
CET, Central European Time,
Oh,
because
okay.
then I will do stuff.
Oh, right, because you're gonna publish them. Thank you. I'll
And we
try to
still have the
write them.
problem with Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Which problem with Blue Sky?
It's not in
we can't
buffer.
schedule. We can't
Oh,
schedule
yeah.
posts.
Right, and that's not gonna get fixed in time. Sorry about that. Unless we take off Mastodon, if we go ahead and make that call, and take off Mastodon, we could schedule on one of them.
Ooh.
I mean,
Under pressure.
So I have feelings about that, and it's not my feelings that I'm worried about. I'm worried about the people that are like really invested in Mastodon right now that are in our community, and they would see that as kind of a slap in the face if we just went ahead and did it without much discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll just have to deal with it.
can we wait a second? Buffer. Do we have Mastodon statistics in Buffer?
I don't
think so.
know. Let me look.
Mm.
It's a great
Because
question.
I think that's the only channel that are. Yeah.
The best with North America, it was okay for it not to be in Buffer because we were on site and like
Yeah.
getting things done. We were communicating with you, Chris, and you were helping us get things set up on there. So we could kind of handle it, even if it was kind of a mess. But with India, not many of our folks are attending, and no one with high privileges is attending.
No, we don't
And
have statistics for for.
so we wouldn't really be able to post things.
Yeah.
And it's 9
I'll be
a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be attending KubeCon India. So maybe if it's any help, I can try to like manually post on Blue Sky. You all are okay with it. I mean, I guess Sandeep and Sriram is also attending. So maybe they could help as well.
The
But
problem
because I
is
haven't gotten any of the social media shadow stuff written up, we haven't given any of you all the highest level privileges on those accounts because you have to have direct access to those accounts to post to them.
Yeah.
Mario, is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
That's the one issue I see.
Which Arvind and Sandeep have done considerable comms work, and like I think that you all could do it, but do we want to burden
put
you with that?
strain? Yeah, that's a lot.
Having
I wouldn't rush
access
it
to
for
things
now.
is difficult, as I have proven repeatedly by making mistakes on things that got accounts banned.
Oops.
Oops. I don't want to burden you all with that option before you're ready for it.
Option. Yeah.
So we'll have to talk about that more, and we don't have time to. So
Ouch. Yeah.
we can talk to Nabarun. He's a co-chair of SIG ContribEx, so he technically has access to all of that stuff already because they have access to the 1Password. But it's not his usual area.
Right.
And he asked us for help for getting social media posts out.
We could give him the list of things and be like, hey, run this.
Here you go.
But is that even worse than asking Arvind or Sandeep,
it
who
is
have
even
comms
worse.
experience, to do this? Yes.
Far worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
India. The planning for India could have been smoother.
No kidding. Yeah.
We are at an impasse.
Agreed. Okay.
We are 3 minutes over our usual end time. Thank you very much, folks, for sticking with us. We could stay on a few more minutes and try to noodle on this more, but I think I probably need a break before I come up with any good ideas on it.
Same. Yeah, very same.
Arvind, also, thank you very much for being there, and you do have excellent comms experience. If you want to talk more about this and like how you feel about the idea of having more posting privileges, we can have that discussion because you do know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I want to talk with you about it first, I think, before. burdening you with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with doing that, but as I let you know that I'll be going for my master's next year, so I'm not sure how much time I'll be getting. So there's that. But
Yeah.
yeah, happy to help.
That is
with
always an important
if I can.
consideration.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you for calling that
Very.
out. That is leadership quality right there. That is what we want leaders to do, is to call out when they aren't able to do things. Cool. So we are at 4 minutes over. Any beyond last minute things before we take a break and continue any of these discussions offline on Slack? Also, trouble with that terminology. It is still online when you do that, but we say offline because it's not on the call. Just going to call that out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean,
All
it's
right.
mostly Linux servers.
Right.
Indeed. Linux servers all the way down.
All right.
All right. That's a strong point to end on.
Agreed.
Thank you very much for joining today, everyone. So we will have this meeting next week. I probably won't be here, but it sounds like Mario and Chris will be here. We will cancel our last two of the end of the year, like the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's, or however that works. Week right before Christmas, I suppose, and week of New Year's. And then we'll be back in the new year. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all of your hard work in 2024. And we look forward to seeing you around. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.